Good evening. We will continue today, Bezrat Hashem, the common question series. Last week we spoke about tattoos, drugs, alcohol, cigarettes, temporary tattoos, laws of the goyim, false beliefs, many interesting things. I mean, Baruch Hashem, it gives people many answers to many of the questions that they have in life. The interesting part was that many of the people who responded to the lecture that we made here last Tuesday, they didn't even know that in many of the things that they do, there is a problem. They only now know that some of the things that they thought it's 100% Jewish, it's actually 100% Christians or all kinds of other things. So we will continue today. As you can all see, yesterday I had a very good lecture in Queens about the situation now in Israel, United States, what's happening in the world. You don't want to miss it. Be'ezrat Hashem, the situation from yesterday to today got even worse in the last 24 hours. And we're going to the path just like the Gemara described to us in details what's going to be before the Mashiach would arrive. Maybe a year ago when people read it, they would think, what's the chance that the United States will be the enemy of Israel? Is it possible, such a thing? You can see on the news today what's their announcement that they are making. So basically Europe, United States, all the Arab worlds, all the rest of the world, אין לנו על מי לסמוך אלא על אבינו שבשמיים. Hashem will isolate us to a situation that the words of the verse עם לבדד ישכון ובגויים לא יתחשב. It's an isolated nation with no friends that is basically left alone. But what's better? To be loved by all the nations and to be hated by Hashem, or to be hated by the whole nations and to be loved by the creator of the world? Why do we care about the nations? All we have to do is to trust HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and the rest, nothing to be worried about. But Hashem has to put us on our knees first to understand that we cannot rely on Obama and his friends. Only when we realize it, all Jews, include the secular one, they will say, okay, we try politics, we try war, we try army, we try all kinds of things. We try high-tech, we try business, we try whatever we try. In the end, Hashem left us alone. Let's make peace with Him, everything will work out. Now, as you know today, most of the people in the world are very empty when it comes to spirituality. Very empty. It doesn't matter anymore so much if they have a kippah on or no. Even people with kippah, they go to Florida, parachuting, snapping, jumping from cliffs, motorcycles, all kinds of things like that. Why is it? When a person is empty from inside, he has no excitement in his life, he creates excitement. He creates things to be busy with, because otherwise his life is very boring. The question is, how much of this excitement that people artificially creating for themselves, how much of that is even permitted by the Torah? The question is, when a person go and do snapping, is it something that even permitted, or it's actually a violation of the Torah? Some of these things that people do could be mamash lav deoraita, isurim me'atorah, and most of the people are not aware of. So here is a question. People like to go and climb on mountains. What's the highest mountain? The Everest. The Everest. Is a person allowed, a Jew, is allowed to go and climb on the Everest? Or all these places in Nepal that they go, or in Chile that they have cliffs, very narrow roads. You know, when the Israelis are very into it. Almost every Israeli, as soon as he finished the army, first thing he has a dream to go on a trip. South America, Peru, Bolivia, Brazil, Carnival, Chile, all these dreams that people have in their mind. I have to do it, Rabbi, before I'm going to go into the work and to get married. I have to see the world. So they go to these places. The question is how much of that is kosher, because remember, secular people, they do whatever they want. They don't care allowed, not allowed. But people with kippah on, they live with cheshbon. They calculate what's permitted, what's not. So the answer is no permission to go to the Everest mountain. Why? It's a life risk. Not once and not two people die there. It's something that a person puts himself in jeopardy. Even though most people make it alive, they may come back normal, okay, everything is fine. The fact that a person puts himself in a place that he can die or get injured is not permitted. What about snappling? Snappling means people that are bored from life, they go to a high place and they tie a special rope to their ankle, to their leg, and it's like a string. It's stretched, bungee jumping. Yeah. So, sorry, I'm not exactly coming from this world, so it takes me time to understand myself what it means. So, so people go and jump, I don't know, like jumping from the Empire State Building. And it goes all the way almost to the ground. It's designed that it won't hit, your head will not hit the ground. So you see that you're falling, your face is about to crash on the floor, and then right there it pulls you right back in. So you go up and down, up and down. Not once and not twice, the rope ripped, and people did die. Or people can die from heart attack. It's very scary. You know what it is? Someone that he has a weak heart, or he may even have conditions in his health that he's not aware of. Not everyone knows about his health. How many people come to regular checkout and all of a sudden the doctor sends them immediately to an emergency surgery that saves their life? I had a student in yeshiva in Monsey maybe 15 years ago. To my humble opinion, is the greatest guy we ever had in the history of the yeshiva. That's my opinion. An incredible human being, incredible. One day, he made aliyah to Israel. He went to yeshiva in Israel. And he had pain in somewhere in his body, in his stomach. He went to the doctor. While he went to the doctor saw that he had a birthmark somewhere on his body. So the doctor told him, the pain that you have, I'm not worried. It will go away. What I'm really worried is about this birthmark. Not birthmark, it's a beauty mark. He said, I want you to go to a specialist right away. So he said to him, I didn't come for this. He said, no, trust me, it could be much more dangerous than what you know. Go immediately. He went to a specialist skin doctor. He told him, you have cancer. Cancer. If you wouldn't come to me, in 2 months you'll be dead. Now we can still save your life. Baruch Hashem, they saved his life. So Hashem brought him pain because he knew he won't go to the doctor unless he really suffered. He gave him tremendous pain, and this pain saved his life. You understand? So therefore, sometimes a person is not aware of his condition. He can go and jump, and all of a sudden he gets a heart attack. He gets a heart attack. So the answer is not allowed. Same story. If he has a risk in it, it's not allowed. What about regular sport? Sport also have life risk. People can die in sport also. It's not common that somebody played basketball and died, but it happened. Or in soccer game, it happens once in a while. People get all of a sudden a heart attack and they die. Young people, it happened a few times in Israel. It happens all over the world. So the question is it allowed? The answer, it's allowed because it's also a mitzvah. Why it's a mitzvah? It's not a mitzvah to be a Greek, to follow sport. That's the Greek culture. It's mitzvah to run a little bit. It's good for the health. It's mitzvah to do some exercise. Not to be addicted like all these bodybuilders who 20 years they suffer for the one moment they can walk like this on a beach and show their muscles. That's the safari laws. You know, in the safari, that's how it goes. The gorilla goes like this, you know. But it's good to do some exercise. Some people, the only way they will run, like me, if it's in the middle of a game. To run like this on the street, or in a gym, on a machine, treadmill, it looks very foolish and stupid for me. But some people like it. But if it's in the middle of the game, you're not coming to actually exercise. You're coming for the excitement of the game. מתוך שלא לשמה בא לשמה. You're running after the ball and kick the ball like a fool. And in the end, you do 2 hours a week exercise, and it can save your life. Also, the risk in sport is very, very small. We're not talking sport like boxing. One time I was driving in a place. I see a beautiful limo next to me on the street. I looked into this limo. The window was half open. Who do I see? Who is one of the most famous people in sport in the history of the world? Muhammad Ali. I see mamash 2 feet from my face. We're standing one next to the other. I was with someone in a car. He started to go like this, Ali, 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 like it's buddy, Muhammad, Muhammad. I saw something amazing. Oh, it's his phone, Muhammad. He's supposed to die any minute, by the way, as we speak. He's in critical condition, his health. So I'm talking to you, this was more than 10 years ago. He could not recognize where we are. He was like looking in space. He goes like this. All he knows, like a robot, is to wave to the crowd. So he goes like this, but he doesn't really focus on us. His brain is so damaged from getting boxes to his brain. He has Parkinson and other problems. He didn't know where we are. We're not talking about this kind of sport that's going to be the end. Even if you make $30 million in a day. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking running, sports a little bit here and there. You have to be careful. It's allowed. Is it permitted to be a security guy? You have a history in the Israeli army. You were in a good unit. And they're offering you a job to be a bodyguard of a prime minister or somebody from the Knesset. They pay nice. You travel. It's exciting. You see places. But it's a life risk. The ones that get the bullets first are the bodyguards when they come to kill a politician. It happens a lot. So the question is it allowed by the Torah to be a security man for someone important or no?
Yes.
Depends on the person.
What do you think? Allowed or not allowed?
Allowed.
What kind of prime minister?
I got your point. He said, depend on what kind of prime minister. Some prime minister, the bodyguard should kill him before the enemies come. He will do a favor to all of us without saying names. So technically, to be a bodyguard of Chacham Ovadia Yosef is a very big zchut. Even if they come to shoot him, the Arabs had a plan to assassinate Rav Ovadia. They had a plan, an official plan. So the government put some bodyguards there in Har Nof, in a Kablan Street for a while, you know. But why? Because he said something about the Hamas snakes. Spoke about the snakes of the Hamas. They got angry. So to be a bodyguard like Chacham Ovadia, if somebody comes to shoot and you jump and you get the bullets for him, it's like the Roman soldiers who came with the Asara, Rogei Malchut, and he asked the rabbi. The Romans took the Sefer Torah and they covered the rabbi's body with the Sefer Torah, and they put tons of curtains between the body of the rabbi to the Sefer Torah, and they brought a soldier with a torch, and his job was to burn the rabbi with the Sefer Torah together in front of all the Jews. This is why we cry on Tisha B'Av, Asara Rogei Malchut. So the Roman Goy asked the rabbi, Rabbi, if I will burn you fast instead of making you torture, because they put the cotton soaked with water. that he won't burn right away. It will take a few minutes. So he said to him, if I put the fire directly on you instead of, and I'll kill you fast, would you take me with you to Olam Haba? Would you take me to heaven with you? So the rabbi told him yes. So he said to him, swear to me. Swear, you have to make an official swear. He knew if the Jews swear, that's it. It's 100% real. And he did swear to him. And he actually put the torch in the highest fire and killed him directly and jumped into the fire and hugged him together. And the Gemara say, Yatsa bat kol min hashamayim ve'amra, there was an echo, an announcement in the court of heaven at that moment that this guy is welcome to Chayei Olam Haba in 1 minute. Why? Because he gave his life to benefit this holy big rabbi, one of the top 10 in the world at that time. In case you do not understand what we're talking here about, if you take all the rabbis in the world combined together, put 10,000 of them together, add them up, I doubt that if they reach his level, him alone. For you to understand what kind of rabbis we're talking in the time of the Talmud, it's a different world than today. So that guy was very clever. How else he would get to heaven, the heaven of the Jews? How he has to convert, he has to go through 30 years of suffering, being lonely, new community, working on his character, getting used to the mitzvot. What a mission he has. It's almost an impossible mission. Now in 1 minute, so the Gemara says, Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, Rabbi, the president of Israel, which he wrote the Mishnah, he started to cry. He said, Yesh Adam koneh olamo berega achad. Sometimes a person can buy eternity in a minute. And him, 120 years of his life, trying, doing all kinds of things, he still wasn't sure if he goes to heaven, to where he's hoping to get. And this guy in a minute made it. And there's other examples like this. So if you're a bodyguard of Chacham Ovadia or anybody in his level, then of course it's mitzvah, even if your life is in a risk. Because the Gemara says, in Baba Metzia, the Gemara says, if you walk in a desert with another Jew, 2 Jews walks in a desert, and you have enough water to survive, but you cannot survive both of you. It's either you or him. One of you has to die. The water is enough to revive one of you until you get to the city. If both of you would drink, both of you would die. If you give it to him, you'll die. If you drink, he'll die. You have 3 options here. What's the option? Not what you say. What you say is correct, but it's not exactly correct. It's not that you don't have to give him. You're not allowed to give him. There's a difference. Which means if you give him the water, you actually committed suicide. And the rule is that your life is more precious than his life. You and your brother, your life comes first. You and your father, your life comes first. Only you and a big rabbi, his life comes first. That's a different story. If somebody benefits the nation of Israel by teaching Torah, and you will give him the water, and you die by saving him, it will not be a sin, it will be a mitzvah. So we see a concept here. If you sacrifice your life for the benefits of Israel, then it's worth it for you. But if you and him, two equal Jews, you have to protect your own life before you protect his life. So if it's a bodyguard of a Mechalel Shabbat, why should you give your life for him? Your life is 1,000,000 times more important than him. Then it's not allowed. However, you can come and say, okay, well, it's the prime minister, he's Mechalel Shabbat, but he also does many things that it's connect to the security of millions of Jews. So this question is not so simple. It really depends who you ask. Some say it's allowed, some say it's not allowed. Some say it's mitzvah, some say it's a sin. Not everything is black and white. There's a gray area. Depends who you ask. If you ask a Dati Leumi rabbi, which means what we call Kippa Sruga. In Israel there's groups, Haredim, Ultra Haredim, Zionist religious, national religious. There's different groups with some different ideologies. Some of their ideology is mutual. They all have the same ideology, to keep Shabbat, to dress modest, to eat kosher. That's every Orthodox Jew in the world, regardless where he came from. But there's some differences in the ideology. For instance, according to some, it's mitzvah to be in the Israeli army. According to some, it's a sin to be in the Israeli army. You understand? And each side makes his argument. And I already have lectures about it. If you want, you can go on my website and check Zionism. I spoke about this whole concept of the arguments between the Haredim and the Dati Leumim. So if you ask a Dati Leumi to be a security guy, to protect a secular guy that is working for the state of Israel, he'll tell you it's mitzvah. If you ask Chacham Ovadia or Rav Eliashiv or Rav Chaim Kanievsky, he'll tell you it's an Avera. You don't have permission to risk your life for someone that is Mechalel Shabbat. Even if it was Shomer Shabbat, you don't have permission. Needless to say that Mechalel Shabbat is equal like a goy 100%. It's halakha in the book of law. Mechalel Shabbat is equal 100% to a non-Jew in all the laws, with one exception. What's the exception? If a Jew that is not Shomer Shabbat wants to bring a sacrifice to Bet HaMikdash because he had a baby daughter, just had a daughter, he waited 30 years to have a kid. Finally, Hashem gave him a kid. So he comes to Bet HaMikdash. He says, Mr. Cohen, here, I just bought $300. I bought this sheep. I want to sacrifice it as a todah, as a thank you to Hashem. Today, when we don't have Bet HaMikdash, instead of Korban Todah, we do Birkat HaGomel. When we go to the Torah on Shabbat or in the weekdays, people who goes with the airplanes or cross the ocean, or they went to the hospital for at least 3 days, or they lay down in bed 3 days sick. There's rules. When do you do Birkat HaGomel? A woman that gave birth. So therefore, it's a replacement of the sacrifice to Bet HaMikdash as Korban Todah. But in the time of Bet HaMikdash, if an Arab or a Chinese guy, any goy, that brings a sacrifice of thank you to Hashem, to the God of the Jews, in Bet HaMikdash, he brings it, he donates, and he says, sacrifice it for me as a thank you to your God. You accept it from him. But if a Jew that is not Shomer Shabbat bring a thank you to Hashem, Hashem says, I'm not interested in your thank you. Throw it back in his face. Keep it for yourself. Not allowed to sacrifice it. That's the exception. Why? Mechalel Shabbat is 100% like Oved Kochavim Umazalot. Oved Kochavim Umazalot means idol worshipper. Always in halakha. You check Rambam, you can check in Shulchan Aruch, you can check in a Zohar, you can check in a Gemara, you can check everywhere you want. Nobody argue this. Mechalel Shabbat is 100% like a Oved Kochavim Umazalot, like a person who bow down to a statue, and this person who drives the car on Shabbat or smoke a cigarette, 100% equal. And it always go together. Look by the Rambam. מחלל שבת בפרהסיה ועובד כוכבים ומזלות, הרי הם כגויים לכל דבר. Always speaking on both of them in the same law. ממש, always go together like a husband and wife. Always together. So therefore, this is one exception between the Jew that is not keeping Shabbat to the one that is a goy completely. Now, the next question is, someone who rides a bicycle, is he obligated to put a helmet? If he rides in the middle of the road, like in Manhattan and places like this, it's a question if it's even permitted. It may be against the Torah to ride a motorcycle or a bicycle in Manhattan, because the risk to get killed is very, very high. It's very dangerous in Manhattan. It's like a zoo. People cut, all these yellow cabs. Go in a private neighborhood, it's very quiet. No, it's a different issue. But if you go to such places like Shanghai, Manhattan, it's very packed, it's very dangerous. Even in Yerushalayim. Did you drive in Yerushalayim once or no? Go try once, you see what happened. You drive the car, hundreds of people jump in front of you in the last second. A woman with a stroller. You're accelerating. She goes in. She doesn't care. A baby. In the last minute, you stop, you almost get a heart attack. People they're living in their own world. It's like the cars doesn't exist. The question is, it's a life risk. You ride on a motorcycle, on a bicycle there. Motorcycle is dangerous. Bicycle is even more. So the answer is, you must put a helmet. Riding without the helmet, even in a quiet area, there's no risk from cars. But there's always a risk to hit a bump and to fall on the head and to go into coma or something like that. It's always a risk. So therefore, parents that let their children ride without the helmet, it's a problem. If a person has a house and the house has a hazard and it doesn't have a rail to protect it or anything like that, that's a sin from the Torah every second, just like a house that doesn't have a mezuzah. So if the roof, if people can fall off and there's no rail or no protection or there's no guards, no bars in the window for children that they can fall off from the 10th floor. How many times we heard that kids fell from windows, they open it up out of nowhere. Who would believe that 2 years old would open the window and jump from the 50th floor? So therefore, all these things, it's violation from the Torah. Person can be big tzaddik, goes to yeshiva from morning to night, all his life is in the books, but he has windows without bars in his home for 20 years. Every second of his life he lives in a sin. All his life, even if nobody got hurt. He comes in front of Hashem, Hashem say, I have millions of sins. I say, me? I gave my life for the Torah, what sins? He said to him, I made you thousands of miracles. 50 times there were children in your home that were already going to the direction of the window, and I had to interfere to save them, not to bring this tragedy on you. Why? Because you did not put bars for a few dollars on the window. You know, one thing happened in Israel. One guy rented an apartment, and he said to the landlord, I need you to put bars in the windows, I have children. He told him, it's not my obligation. What do I care, you have children? It's your problem. You put bars. It's your obligation, not mine. No, but you're the landlord, you have to give me a secure apartment. It's not a secure apartment. He said, don't rent it. So the landlord already knows he has no choice. He takes advantage. So he told him to put bars on. So he put bars on. After 2 years, the lease was up. Now he has to move out. So when he came to take the security, so he said to him, we good? He said to him, we good. He doesn't say anything about the bars, the tenant that is leaving. He waited until he saw lights in the apartment, which means someone else rented the apartment. So 2 weeks later, he rented the apartment. Then he came one day, he knocks on the door, hello, I'm sorry to bother you, I'm the previous tenant here. I came to take my window bars. So I say to him, what do you mean you came to take it? I rented this apartment from the landlord. You don't have permission to take it. He said, no, that belongs to me. Like I took everything else, I forgot to take them off. Right away, he called the landlord. And he said to him, who is this crazy guy? He came to take the window bars. It's a true story. It happened a few months ago. So the landlord said, put him on the phone. So he said to him, what is this? I ask you if we're good. You say we're good. Why are you coming now to disturb the tenants there? So he said to him, I'm very sorry. I pay 6,000 shekel for that. It's like almost $2,000 to do on all the windows. And I asked you to do it. You didn't want. Now I came to take it. It's not yours. You gave me an apartment without bars. I'm giving it back to you without bars. So what? So I come 2 weeks later to take it. It's still mine. Even if I come next year, it's still mine. So the other person said to him, listen, if he takes the bars off, I want my security deposit back. I move out tomorrow morning. I'm not going to live here without bars. I rented this apartment from you with those soragim, the bars. That's why he was clever. If he would tell him when he move out, I want money for the bars, he would take it out. So he waited until he has another tenant. And in a Haredi neighborhood, for sure, there is at least one baby. Always a baby, every year or two, Baruch Hashem. So I already knew my investment is secure. Clever guy. And they ended up in Bet Din. They ended up in Bet Din. If you the judge, what verdict would you reach?
He has the right to take it. He has the right to take it.
The landlord claimed I ask you if we're good. I give you the security. You did not make a word about this and about this, the bars. That means you forgave that. You forgave it. It's now mine. You don't have the right to change your mind. So he say, we did not speak specifically about the bars. We good. We good. Yeah, you give me the security. I'm giving you back the apartment. That's what it means. We good.
Kenyan.
Who has a Kenyan?
The landlord, he said he got the money, he got the tenant out, asked if we're good, that's it.
So if I sell you my car, and I forgot something important in the trunk, and I come the next day after you made kinyan in a car, it's yours or it's still mine?
I would give it back to you.
It's mine.
Still yours.
If it's something that people sell with cars, like built-in stereo, you're not gonna start ripping the car now, you know. If it's built-in, then it's count as a part of the sale. But if it's a GPS that you stick in a window, it doesn't go with the car.
But it's like you said,
Still
the
mine.
bars on the windows is like the stereo in the car. It's part of it.
So I tell you what, when I read that question for the first time, I said like you, he doesn't have the right to take the bars. But when he arrived to Bedin, they say to him that he must pay him for the bars, the landlord. So the landlord said, why? He tricked me.
He proved the point.
So he said, so the answer was of the Dayanim. That's why you need to learn 80 years Torah, to see things that not everyone can see. The Dayanim say, when you presented the apartment, this tenant took it thanks to these bars. You owe him. His improvement to your apartment got you a tenant very fast. It was to your benefit. Why don't you want to pay for it? You forced him to do something that's already one thing that it's not kosher. Finally, you forced him. Now, his improvement to your property got you a tenant. Every week, it could be hundreds of dollars. They made him pay, and he still got very angry. He said, "Oh, you're giving your hands to the crooks. You're teaching them how to cheat. Why he didn't say anything in the time?" He said, "He doesn't have an obligation to tell you now. He can come 2 weeks later and take it. Just because I have something here doesn't mean I must come right away and take it."
Yeah, but Moshe has a shower like this, and somebody buys a house, and everything in it, it's mine. The little kid jumps on the bed, and all of a sudden, a push the box comes out from the mattress with $100,000. Now, is it his or the guy's who lived there before? The Moshe said, give it back to the guy who was before.
It's all depend.
Huh?
I'll tell you, it's all depend. If
You know about this?
yes, if you buy an apartment
Yeah.
from someone,
Yeah.
and inside the wall you find diamonds, bag with diamonds.
Yeah.
How do you know who it belongs to? Maybe it belongs to the tenant 40 years ago. Especially in Manhattan or in Yerushalayim, you have buildings that are 100 years old. How do you know it's his tenant? He cannot prove it's his. There's nobody. You're holding it right now. He comes, he claims it's mine. There's no way to prove. Diamonds, cash. There's no way to prove. Maybe Mustafa 80 years ago, he that over there, or what's his name, Al Capone, when he lived there. He puts it over there. You want to hear a story? One time I was in Yerushalayim, in the Bukharian neighborhood. We go all the way up to the yeshiva of Rabbi Kaduri, when he was still alive. There's there. It's going all the way up the hill. From Rehov Avinadav to the yeshiva of Rabbi Kaduri, maybe 100 yards away. But it's very, very high street, up the hill. I'm looking on the right side. I went with my uncle, Alav Shalom. So I see that they building a big shul there, in the middle of the block. So I say to my uncle, I see they're making a nice building. He said, you want to hear the story of this place? I say, what? He say, they bought this property, and they started to make the foundation. They made a hole, everything started. They cleaned the area, but now they had to bring the tractors to make the hole. And they needed $10,000, and they don't have. They ran out of money. First, they bought the property. So now they're asking, since they know they don't have enough money to finish the building, is it worth it to try to do one step at a time and wait until we have money and do another step, or first to wait until we collect all the money And then, when we have all the money, we'll start building. So they asked the big rabbi, he told them, you do one step at a time. Every step is a new siyata dishmaya. Hashem get the money for the next one. You have to go with emunah. Don't worry. So they started to dig. They found a box of treasure from more than 200 years ago, from the time of the Turks. The amount of jewelry they found was enough not only to build a whole big yeshiva, to maintain the yeshiva for years. It was antique jewelry, gold, diamonds, anything you can think of, for more than 200 years ago, antique. They found inside. Imagine the Turks in Istanbul now. They heard, so, my grandfather Abdallah, when he used to be the governor of Yerushalayim, it belongs to him. He puts it over there. And he takes them to Beit Din. What's the answer? He doesn't have any proof. Then you take it. But if you know for sure it belongs to the previous tenant and he forgot it there, you have to give it back to him. There's another story. One person had records. Remember records before CD were invented? The big records with the scratches? So he had a bunch of records. Beethoven, Mozart, Tchaikovsky, all kinds of, old ones, very old ones. And he said, now I have one with CDs, I don't need them. I put them by the garbage. Then the neighbor saw it, all these names from very old records. And he took everything to his apartment. After a few weeks, the neighbors, their kids are friends. So the kid of the person who picked up the records from the garbage, he said to the kid of the person who puts the records in the garbage, my father became very rich. We're moving out of here. We're building a big mansion and soon we're going to move out. So he said to the kids, how do you become rich? He said, my father found records, something in the garbage, and he went to sell it, and it turns that some of them were big antique, one in a wall, two in a wall, and he got so much money. And the kid comes and he said to his parents, true story. And the father heard that. He went crazy. Right away, took him to Beit Din. Now they're in Jewish court. What the ruling was? He said, what do you want from me? I picked up something from the hefker, from the garbage. He gave it up. What? I picked it up from the garbage. I didn't steal it from him. And he say, well, obviously, if I knew that it's worth something, I would not put it in the garbage. It's called hefker that I made based on false information. An innocent mistake. So I'm a Jew, you a Jew, I'm your brother. Your brother made an innocent mistake. You have to come and correct his mistake. To help him, not to take advantage of his mistake. Who's right? The doctors say 50-50. Stay in medicine, please.
Unless he should have known to begin with. In other words, if he knew the value and he still didn't care, that's something else.
Well, do you know someone who knows that it's worth millions and he doesn't care?
Let's say he threw away, and for him it was garbage. So if he assumed that it's really garbage, in his expert opinion, then fine, then he loses it.
The answer, he had to give him back all the money.
He stole his garbage.
Why? Because when you make hefker to something that you think it's worthless, and he does worth something, it's not hefker, you still own it.
Really?
Yeah. You know what happened? One person went to a library, to a bookstore, a bookstore. They sell used books. And he found inside the original signature and handwriting of the Khatam Sofer from Hungary from 250 years ago, which made this book worth more than $1 million. And he got it for $10, $15 in Israel. Also, he ended up in court, because the owner of the store never knew there's a signature of the Khatam Sofer. He also bought it from few dollars. What's the ruling? This time, the buyer kept the book, because the owner, it went from few hands. Nobody really knew, no one really appreciated, and no one really paid for that signature. When he got it, that's it. Very interesting how these things work. Okay, let's move on. What about the 3 weeks between 17 B'Tammuz and Tisha B'Av? Are you allowed to go swimming in the ocean? because it's days of danger, midat adin, judgment days in Shamayim. Is a person allowed to go swimming or to let his children go to day camp? Because all the day camps in America is in those weeks. Allowed or not allowed?
Not allowed.
Obviously, if all the day camps operate as usual, it has to be a permission for that, no? Religious day camps. The answer, allowed. Even though if it's more danger than usual, it's still a very rare danger that people would die in by swimming. It can happen.
It's acceptable.
Yes, it's accepted danger. Next thing is a parent has an obligation to teach his children to swim, knowing one day it may save their life. Or when we get to the bridge, we cross it. Do you have an obligation to teach your children to swim?
Yes.
Or who's to say that my kid would ever ended up drowning? Or they know they don't know how to swim, so they won't jump anywhere deep.
But the Gemara says that you have
Is it my obligation to spend $1,000 to teach him to swim?
yes, it's part of something.
Condition of love.
The answer, it's a good advice, but not an obligation. Good advice, very good advice, very recommended, but if a person does not do it, it's not a punishment.
Does the father have to teach parnosa for the child?
Same thing, the Gemara in the Masechet Kiddushin speaks about it. It's an obligation for a father to teach his son melacha. There's few opinions in the Gemara. One opinion, yes. One opinion say you have to teach him a clean work, real estate, salesman, things like that.
Yeah.
And one Gemara say, I think it was Rabbi Meir, correct me if I'm wrong, he say, I never saw any animal that has to go to college and have parnasa and take care of himself. Hashem takes care of all the animals, and me, Hashem is not going to give me parnasa. Well, if I'm doing sins, that makes Hashem not willing to give me parnasa. Let me make peace with Hashem, and I'll have parnasa. If Hashem feed, I always say, HaKadosh Baruch Hu give parnasa, and sometimes big parnasa, to the most despicable people in the history of this world, to the biggest idol worshippers, to the biggest terrorist, Bin Laden, one of the biggest murderers of our time, multi-billionaire. Hitler, millionaire. Saddam Hussein, billionaire. Gaddafi, $200 billion. Arafat, hundreds of millions, until today they search where it is. Every monster murderer, multi-billionaire. Bachurei yeshiva here across the street come to yeshiva with bicycle. Can't afford to buy a car. Where is the justice, Rabbi? You want justice in 20 years? Shame on you. We're talking eternity here. You worry about 10, 20, 30 years of eternity? What do you worry about 20 years? Worry in the long run. Where are you going to end? Don't worry, you won't be stuck with this bicycle forever. And he won't be stuck with those billions forever. As you saw, they killed Gaddafi like a dog. Did you see how they killed him? They kicked him, those Arabs. They broke his head, and he was begging. They took it on a cell phone. You hear on a cell phone how he begs for his life. $200 billion. Teenagers kicked his head and killed him like a dog. Saddam Hussein found him with lice in a hole. $40 billion lice. Lice on his head. He had a beard like a Baba. So his beard. One guy in Monsey put an ad. Tzaddik Balair. Next week, a big Mekubal. He puts Photoshop. Talit, tefillin. He took off his curls. He kept his beard. Everyone, all these Hasidim. Who is this? Who is this Baba? Everyone is looking. A week later, he put, this is the tzaddik who comes from Gehenom to visit. It was a joke of the town. Next. If the police put a woman in house arrest, sometimes they have house arrest. Not allowed to go out for the next month until the trial. But she has to go to the mikveh. Is the Jewish police obligated to release her to go to the mikveh? Or they say it's not our problem. Don't be with your husband, what do we care? She said, I need children. My husband did not make mitzvah pru'urbu. It creates problems in shlom bayit. They can give many excuses. The question is us as the police or the Jewish Beit Din that put her in a house arrest. Do they care about her personal problem or their personal mitzvot, or punishment is a punishment? You should have thought about it before you made the crime. What do you think?
Is she eroded?
Huh?
Eroded? Is she classified as?
No, not rodef. It could be a life risk.
Right.
The answer, you don't do mitzvah by making sins. Which means, if she comes to a rabbi after the Israeli police put her in house arrest and she asks him, Rabbi, what's your recommendation? Should I sneak out and go to the mikveh for 2 hours and come hoping no one will catch me? What's his answer should be?
Permission.
Should he give her permission because it's mitzvah from the Torah? Or if she get caught, she's going to get into jail and her situation in the house will be 1,000 times worse, and it's going to be on the news, and it's going to be big chilul Hashem. And when she comes to the court, when the judge finds out that she's a cheater and a liar, and then she's going to say, my rabbi told me, you know how people are, and then they put this picture on the news, and it's going to affect many Itziks and Avis in Israel not to want to get into religion, because if the rabbi teach how to cheat the police, why do we want to be religious? And of course, they're looking for excuses to stay Itzik and Avi, the secular guys. So it's a chain reaction. So the answer is not allowed. You are under house arrest. It's like being in jail. That's it. You are anus. It's not a sin. He doesn't get punishment for not going. Her husband will wait another month to have kids. What's the problem? That's it. It's called honest. But if they call the police usually and they say, can you for this and this and that, they may get lucky. Sometimes Hashem put mercy in one is in charge. He say, okay, you have from this to that, by 10 o'clock I want you to call me from your home. They may allow. It's a decision of a person. It's their decision. They may be able to. Next thing, when a woman goes into the mikveh and she has contact lenses on her pupils, inside the eyes, is that considered chatzitza or no? The rule is, if a woman has a band-aid or all kinds of things attached to her body, sticker or anything like that, she went into the mikveh, it's like she did not go to the mikveh. Why? Because the water must touch all the body in one shot, not little by little. Little bit of the hand, and then the head, and then the other hand, and then the legs. It's like no tvila. If one hair stayed outside, it's like she did not go to the mikveh. Same thing in conversion. Christine came to the mikveh to become Sarah, but she came out Christina. Why? I see I have to change the joke. It's not working anymore. Okay. So the answer is, because one hair stayed out, she stayed a goya. Only if the full body went in, and it happens many times when we do the conversion, that they're panicking, they get very nervous because it's a key moment in their life. So many times we tell them to have to go with their hands like this. They have to go into the mikveh many times because they're busy with the excitement of the moment and they're all shivering and crying, most of them at least. So one hand or the head stayed out. They go, but they're not fully going inside. You have to be very careful to see that everything went inside the water, because if one air came out of the water in the time of the tvila, it's like there was no tvila. So here, contact lens attached to the eyes, obviously water won't go underneath. Is this considered that she did not go to the mikveh and she went with her husband? It's already sur karet, because the husband that goes with his wife without mikveh is one of the biggest crimes in Judaism. It's so bad that it's worse than being with his own mother intimately. It's a bigger sin. In the Torah, it said, don't have relationship with your mother. Without the Torah, you wouldn't know it? You would know it. But the Torah made clear for all the psychopaths, in case they thought maybe there's a way out of it. The Torah says it's a death sentence. Now, the Torah say, don't come near a woman in a time of Nida. Not only you cannot be intimate with her, don't come near her. It's already a violation to touch, to hug, to kiss, whatever. It's already a violation. Because the Torah said, don't come near her. לא תקרב לגלות. Everywhere else, do not, לא תגלה ערוותה. Over here, לא תקרב. Don't even come near. Which makes it even worse than just having relationship. The Torah said, don't even come near her, that you maybe would lead you to relationship. So over here, it's a very critical question. If the contact lenses is separations between the water to her body, she has to go again without it. What's the answer? If it's contact lens that comes in and out every day, it's chatzitza for sure. If it stay all the time inside, they made, I guess, contact lens that stay inside, it becomes an integral part of the body. Even though you can take it out, you can also cut your hand out. You can cut your hair. It's an integral part of the body. You can get rid of it. So the fact that you can get rid of it doesn't make it not be a part of your body. It's all depend if it's routinely coming in and out, it's not an integral part of the body. If it's attached all the time to the body, then it becomes a part of the body. Therefore, you don't need to make it wet under it. You can make it wet on top of it, because that's considered your real eyes, because it's always attached inside the body. Next thing.
About
My husband.
false teeth, you gotta take out.
Which one? False teeth? No, if they routinely all the time, if they come in and out, like some people put it in a glass, then you must take it out. But if it's implants or things like that, or you don't need to take it out for whatever reason, same thing like the contact lens. Now, my husband is in a hospital unconscious as a result of an accident. The woman, she's in a state of Nida. She's acting as a nurse, because the nurse is not going to be all the time near him, so she has to put cream on his wounds, he's got burned. So the nurse gave her a list. Whenever you hear, every hour smear on his hand this cream. But she's Nida now. So she asked if she allowed to take care of him as the time that she's not allowed technically from the Torah to be in any contact with him. The answer, what do you think? Not allowed. Because it's not pikuach nefesh. If it was a matter of life risk, for sure it's allowed. It's an obligation to do. Even in a time of nida, life comes before it. However, if it's not a life risk, she's not allowed. Next question is,
how is that different than a nurse taking care of a patient in the hospital?
Nurse is allowed to take. No, nurse is not his wife. Torah forbid, if you have a wife, she's permitted to you. But in a time of nida, she's not. It's a total separation. Every woman, every nurse, every doctor will check your eyes and touch you while she's in nida. It's nothing. You have nothing with her. It's not going to lead to anything. But you're right. The big rabbis, they don't eat food anywhere. Not because it's not kosher, because women touched it in a time of nida. They don't want. They only eat what their wife made for them, and they know that she was pure. According to the Zohar, the impurity of a woman in a time of nida, it's even worse than the impurity of a dead body. And according to the Zohar, a woman is not allowed to look at the Sefer Torah in a time of her nida. Not to talk about touching it or kissing it. So if you go by the Zohar, women would not be even permitted in a shuls, just on the chance that she is in a time of nida. She may not know it yet. They would not let them in. And there are some shuls, there are no Ezrat Nashim. On purpose, they designed the shul, the women cannot come there. Why? A woman can pray at home. She doesn't have an obligation to be in minyan. It's always better. But since it's not an obligation, only problems come from it. One, all these ladies, when they're not always dressed modestly, stand outside on outside the shul. When the men come, they have to see them and smell them, and tons of perfume, and all the talking and the laughing and all this. It's not exactly holy. Plus, add this tumat nida based on Kabbalah, which creates another problem. Plus, usually when the women come, it's a budget deal. All the babies come with them, and disturb the whole community, and nobody can pray because the kids runs around. And in the middle of the prayers, when everyone is in the middle of a tfilat ne'ilah, a little girl, 5 years old, half naked, with her skirt goes all over, she rolls on a rug, and destroy the holiness of the place. And whose fault it is? The mother that came to hear shofar in the end of Yom Kippur. It's not even an obligation. In the meantime, she disturbed the whole community, especially if there's some angry people there. It creates fights. So, next thing.
What if the halacha is vice versa? The wife is sick. And
Same thing.
Same
thing.
By baby birth.
Not allowed to touch her. So you bring someone to do it, a nurse, whatever. Next question. Someone who accepted on himself a custom. Some chumrah, extra. It's not an obligation. He wants to, for instance, he decided to accept Shabbat an hour before the time. And now after a year or two, he got tired of it. He said, it's too much for me. I want to now accept Shabbat 2 minutes before sunset. It's too much an hour before, especially winter time. And he wants to stop. Since it's not an obligation to keep Shabbat an hour before the time, it's only extra. The question is, can he just stop? Or since he actually already did it routinely, now he has an obligation to keep it for the rest of his life? Is there any way out of it? That's the question. Any minhag, any custom that you accepted on yourself that is not an obligation from the Torah. For instance, a person had a short beard and he decided to make a long beard. It's not an obligation. An obligation not to cut the beard with blades. But he decided he wants to be a chassid. It was Litvish, he decided to be a chassid. Then he got tired of it. He wants to cut it off to make it like it used to be. But since he was obvious, Shabbos is the same example.
You want to daven before the Zman?
No, some people accept Shabbos 7 o'clock when Shabbos really start 8:15. They come to Mincha 7, 7:15, 7:30.
Summer, when it gets very
Summer, yes.
So, but only that time, but the rest of the time is normal time.
All right, so the question now, if a person accepted on himself to do something extra, is he now obligated to keep it forever, or he can stop anytime he wants?
It's a minute time, it's still like a neder, so he has to be matanah.
The answer, he needs atarat nedarim. To break the vow, how do you do it? You take 3 men, Shomrei Shabbos, and there is a special reading in a siddur. It takes about 3-4 pages to read, and they are acting like a beddin. You clarify, you reveal this minhag that you used to do, and you want to stop it, and the beddin has to dismiss it. This is the power of speech. That the beddin say, mutarim lachem, it's dismissed, it's cancelled. You can go back not to do it.
In a way, it's not even a minyan, because if there's no minyan, you're not going to daven before.
But it's still,
Not an hour and a half before, because there's no minyan.
you have a good point. The question is if this minhag was forced on you. You didn't really want it. You moved to a Hasidish neighborhood, and over there everyone does it. Where you are, nobody does it. But where you are now, you don't want to be an exception to the rule. So you were forced into it. Now all of a sudden, you move back to a different place. You don't want. You never accepted it because you wanted it. You just were afraid what's going to be the consequences. So the question is, since you actually did it, is it considered something you accepted on yourself? The answer is yes. You still have to do atarat nedarim. Now, next question. A kid goes to 9th grade and he got tired of the secular public school that he's going to. It happens to me all the time, many, many times, that teenagers listen to my lectures and they want to do tshuva, but their parents is anti-religion. Now, in Israel, it's half of a problem. Here, it's a double problem. Why? Here, it costs hundreds of dollars to go to ninth grade. So that means you need the parents not only to agree, to sponsor it, which is a triple mission here. In Israel, you can go to yeshiva for free. It's a part of the education system. So in Israel, you just need the parents to agree, because it's not 18 yet. It's not, is still a teenager. The parents need to agree that he will go to yeshiva, and usually they don't agree. So the question is, what this teenager has to do? He wants to go to ninth grade to yeshiva, but his parents fight him. What should he do? The answer, he should give his life for it. He should roll on the floor, he should cry, he should pull his hair off. I'm going to kill myself. I can't live like that. You're destroying me. 2 months, he doesn't want to eat. He doesn't want to do anything. They go to weddings. He doesn't want to go. Leave me alone. Until the parents see, listen, we're destroying the kid. Let's just send him to religious school. Usually a month later, he makes them Shomrei Shabbat. Comes home, he says, what is this? You're like two goyim here. Shame on you. What is this? That's what they're afraid of, by the way. Why are parents afraid to send their kids to yeshiva? Because they know we're going to have a policeman here now. What are you eating? What are you doing? They're afraid. I have a very tough and nervous mother. Like a Gestapo. What should I do with her? It's very hard to respect her. Am I still obligated to keep my mouth closed, not to answer, not to go angry? Yes, mother, yes, mother, yes, mother. No. That's the question.
You're not allowed to embarrass the parent.
Huh?
You're not allowed to be embarrassed to say anything.
No, as the question is, the mother is basically taking advantage on the fact that she has a religious boy that tried to do what Hashem say to do, to respect his parents. She takes advantage on it. She made him like a soldier, you know. And he suffers every second of his life with this kind of mother. What's the solution? If he has a way to go to yeshiva with a dorm far away from her, then it's very good. You kill two birds with one stone. Now you don't fight with her, and plus, you know, you're still in yeshiva. If there's no other way, you're not allowed to answer. What happened if this Gestapo mother, she say to her son things that is against the law of the Torah? What happened then?
You don't listen to her.
He is not allowed to listen to her. The smallest mitzvah in the Torah, smallest, or even a custom that everyone does. It's not an obligation from the law, but every Jew does it. Or it's rabbinical law, things that the Chachamim made. And she say to him, if you don't listen to me, technically he may think, to listen to my mother, it's mitzvah from the Torah. To do what I was about to do, it's a rabbinical law. When when two mitzvot collides, rabbinical against the Torah, we go with the Torah. What's going to be over here? Can he not do a mitzvah of the Rabbanan because he has an obligation to listen to his mother? Because it's more important to do mitzvah from the Torah? The answer is absolutely not. Anything his parents tell him against his religion, not only he doesn't have to listen to them, he's not allowed to listen to them. Unless, Baruch Hashem, I have a great assistant here, they also read my mind, unless if it's not an obligation at all, which means you want to accept on yourself to do extras. This is the law, you want to do extra. And your parents come and say, you don't have to do extra. You can do it over here. But here is a thin line here. What's really considered extra, it's not so easy to know. Because some extras, according to us, it's extra. According to someone else, is ya'areg velo ya'avor. For instance, by Hasidim, The beard is the most important thing. If you don't have a beard, you're half a goy. That's the end of the world. So if a Hasidish boy trim his beard, even though it's not even a sin from the Torah or not rabbinical sin, it's nothing. It's basically he did nothing wrong. But by them, it's so important already for 200 years, the beard. So therefore, if he wants to do something that for them in their community, it's one of the most important things, it falls into the category of Chilul Hashem already. Because everyone looks at him as a goy, even though it's not true, doesn't matter. That's already the rule over there. However, like I gave an example, if somebody wants to accept Shabbat an hour earlier and it bothers his parents very much because they need him to help, and now he cannot touch the electric or he cannot run to the store, and the parents asking him to stop, then he has to listen because it's extra. It's not an obligation. It's called chumrot. But there is sometimes chumrot and there's sometimes chumrot yeterot. In halacha, there's two kinds of chumrot. There's chumrah and chumrah yetera, which means chumrah means sometimes the chumrah is very necessary, and sometimes is chumrah that is really fall in a category of foolishness. It's like a person making up chumrot that doesn't really have a source in halacha. That's needless to say. We are only speaking about chumrot that are beneficial to the life of this Jew. However, we should know the rule. If the parents forcing him will throw you out of the house, it creates violence, it creates big fights in a family, it destroys the peace between the husband and wife, one supports the kid, one is against the kid, all kinds of things like this. He cannot act on his own. He has to run to his rabbi and to ask him what to do. You'll be surprised. Sometimes the rabbi will tell him to violate the rules for the sake of peace, but it depends when and how and what is the threat. Sometimes the rabbi is considered a sin must be done here. One way or the other, a violation of the Torah will take place. So if I have a small violation and a huge violation, I have to go with the small one. That's the rule. Not that I'm happy to go with the small, but what's the other alternative? To go to make 100 times bigger sin? So therefore, since there's no other way, you go with as little as you can. So you need a clever chacham that knows the situation and he knows what to answer. Next question. My father drinks alcohol every day. Now, he never gets drunk. He's not doing crazy things, but he drinks. He likes to drink arak, whiskey. He drinks on every meal. And it doesn't look so impressive. I mean, people see all the time, he must have alcohol. What is this? The question is, do I have to fight with him until he stops? Or since he never behave foolish, I have to let it go? It's basically the kid is asking about the embarrassment it caused him in front of his friend, in front of family, that his father must have always the arak bottle and the whiskey next to him.
As long as he's not drunk, he's all right.
It also brings
It was a dvar must, it's a ba'aya.
Why? How many people must eat bread every day? Do you know people that put rice on the bread and eat? Even with rice they eat bread. No, Parsim, they eat rice. They don't care about the bread. They can't live without the rice.
אם זה לעשות לחיים, אז אין בעיה. אבל אם זה סתם, אז אם זה רק, להיות...
The kid has to ask his father if he gives him permission to help him to get out of this habit. Abba, do you give me permission to help you to get out of this habit that you must drink every day a little bit, l'chaim? Out of that, usually it's embarrassing enough that they get the point. They have to ask permission. But what happens if it makes him curse and throw things as angry and violent and all this? Then it's already a big problem here. Then he has to go and bring him to the rabbi or bring the rabbi to the house to help him to get out of it. My father is sick, he's in our house, it's a full-time job to take care of his needs, even take him to the hospital, to pick him up, to move the things, the pillow, to make him tea every half an hour, special food he can eat, special food he cannot eat, run to the pharmacy every day, prepare for him all kinds of things. And plus, usually when people get older, it's like going back to their baby days. They become more and more babies. So it's really like taking care of another baby now. In case you have another one or two in the house, it's really not easy. The question is, we want to move him to an old age facility that they are equipped to take care of cases like this. Is this considered a sin or no? We have a verse, Al tashlicheni le'et zikna. Don't throw me in times of elder days.
If they don't want to go in there, then maybe you shouldn't. If
The
they don't
answer-
want to go, then don't take them.
Well, if they say, take me to an old age, it's better for me, I'm going to have some friends, then obviously you're not hurting them. You do what they want. Sometimes they say it out of an embarrassment from the daughter-in-law. They're already embarrassed that the daughter-in-law has to do so much for them. Well, his son, I did a lot for him. He owes me. But her, why she has to take care of my own problems? So they sometimes feel, and they see them whisper and this, and you see all kinds of tension. They don't feel comfortable being there. So they say, throw me in Harlem. Just get me out of here because I don't feel comfortable here. The question is this a violation or no? The answer, the father takes care of 10 children, but 10 children cannot take care of one father.
Binyamin.
It's a very big mitzvah to take care of them. By the way, you should know, there are two communities in the Jewish world that are extra wealthy, bli ayin hara. Who are they? The Syrian community and the Persian community. Why Hashem blessed them more with wealth? They have a wonderful habit. They don't throw their parents in old age places. They take care of them until the last breath, no matter how difficult it is. They take care of them. They bring the whole family to be with them, and they give them attention, and they make them like the king of the family, even though they obviously not in a business anymore, or they can hardly move, or they lay all day in a wheelchair or in a bed, or whatever the case is. They can benefit the family like they used to. Doesn't matter. They take care of them just like Hashem want us to take care of our parents in the time when they got old. Because of that, there's extra special blessing, because this is one of the mitzvot that Adam eats מהפירות בעולם הזה, the Mishnah say. אלה מצוות שהאדם, that the person does it, אוכל מפירותיהם בעולם הזה, והקרן קיימת לו לעולם הבא. One of them is כיבוד אב ואם. But כיבוד אב ואם, the harder it is, the more fruits you get. If your father is 70 years old, he still play tennis. I know one old man in Manhattan, he played tennis 82 years old. But then he had a little pain in his knees, 82 years old. He replaced his knees. He made a surgery, he replaced his knees, or one of them. And he said, the hardest thing because of this surgery that I cannot play tennis. Well, this person, he gave $100 million donation to Yeshiva University. One check. 100. And another 40 million to school in Westchester. And hundreds of other millions. Well, it's easy when you make $11 billion a year in your business. It's not so hard to write from time to time $40 million check, especially when Obama pay half of it. 50% deduction. You know, it's very interesting. One time my cousin, the big rabbi, he gave a drasha. And he said something very interesting. It's so true. He said, one time I went to a place. And there was like, I don't know, Sheva Brachot, party. And there was a lot of good whiskey bottles, cognac, all kinds of good wines. So the owner of the house that made this fancy party, he told him, Rabbi, I want all the alcohol that left here. When the party is finished, I will pack everything in boxes for you. I want them to take them home. There should be enough for you for years. So he said, from the minute he told me that, every time someone poured a glass of whiskey, it burned my heart. You're drinking mine. That's how the government is. When you write a donation, somebody in the IRS pull his hair off. Oh, we just lost 50% on this $100 million. That's what it is. Now, before we finish, time is running out. I mean, the introduction. My father play poker in the middle of davening with his cellular phone. Am I allowed to tell him, Abba, that's not the way to pray? So, it's an addiction, all this cell phone. Some people cannot put it down a second. I have seen one guy who sits in a meeting, he puts it on the table, and 5 seconds later he picks it up again. Just put it down. People can't. It's like it's an addiction. The question is, am I allowed to say to him? It may embarrass him. The son has to tell him, Abba, why are you playing with the phone in the middle of davening or texting or whatever? The answer, he must tell him, but with a lot of respect. No, in the actual time, because you have an obligation to prevent his sin now, not tomorrow. Right now it's taking place. I have to tell him right now. But what happens if it happens every day, and every day you tell him, and every day he say to you, it's okay, Hamoudi. And he continue. You continue to say, like talking to the wall. One guy got married. From the wedding, he said to the driver of the limo, take us to the Kotel. It was in Tel Aviv, the wedding. So the guy said to him, what do you care about the Kotel? You're not religious. You just made a party, dancers, everyone naked there. Why do you now all of a sudden, you finish the wedding 1 a.m., you want to go to the Kotel to Yerushalayim? The driver is asking him. He said, I want my new wife to get used to talk to the wall. I'm preparing her for what's coming. Talking to this father is like talking to the wall. So, as long as he doesn't get angry and scream and become arrogant, you still have an obligation to tell him. If it becomes ugly, hey, be quiet, tzuf. Who are you? What are you telling your Abba what to do? Okay, it's already not going to get anywhere. Then you dismiss from the Torah after that. But as long as he's nice and you say, okay, you're right, and he puts it in, and tomorrow again he took it out, and you tell him and he puts it in, and tomorrow again, even 1,000,000 times. The fact that you tell him and he gets embarrassed and he puts it in or he stops, that's already helping. My father yelled at my mother all the time. Am I allowed to yell at him once and put him in his place to stop? Or I just have to live with that forever? The answer, no, not allowed. I have to talk to him nicely, alone. After it happens, you have to calm him down when he relaxes and to talk to him about it. We want to change our last name. Is it a problem changing the last name or no? From the Torah. The answer, last name means nothing in Judaism. There's no value, no nothing. In the old days, it used to be Ploni ben Ploni, Yosef ben Yitzchak, Yitzchak ben Avram. That's it. That's how they knew people. I'm 30 years old and I want to donate a kidney to a friend of mine, but my father against it. Am I obligated to listen to him or no? That's a common thing. It happens a lot. Someone wants to donate an organ to help someone's life or to save a life, but the parents is against it. What happens if one day you need this kidney, you're going to have only one? Where are we going to find you a kidney for $150,000 and the pressure and the tension and dialysis? Stay with what Hashem gave you. You don't have an obligation to give. The answer, should I donate or not? Remember what I said 5 minutes ago? You already forgot? Saving life, it's mitzvah from the Torah or no? Yes. If your parents tell you not to do mitzvah from the Torah, you're not allowed to listen to them. That's it. If you want to go to a kosher shul, and your father wants you to go to a non-kosher shul, meaning the separation between the men and the ladies is not high enough, or it's very clear, or they do all kinds of things against the Torah, or the people talk over there, or even it's a kosher shul, but there's no rabbi to give a speech. and in the other shul, there's a speaker who gives 15, 20-minute speech, so you want to go there because you say, you know what, first thing on Shabbat, as soon as we finish to pray, we have 20 minutes of learning. And the father saying, no, I want you to go to this place, but over there it's better for you, religion-wise, you can go there. You can remember, if your father said to you 50 times a day, go get me a bread from the grocery store. No, you bring him a bread. 2 minutes later, go get me a bag of rice. You go again, you're not allowed to say anything. Go get me this, go get me that, go buy me this, go buy me drink, go wash the car, take the garbage down like a servant. Yes, Abba, yes, Abba, yes, Abba, 50 times a day. But if he say to you, go to this shul, not to this shul, and it's clear, if both shul, it's good, you just enjoy here a little more, you give a little bit for mitzvat kibud orim. It's not that he's telling you to make a sin. But if he force you to go to a very modern shul, which sometimes is more like a church than a shul, unfortunately there's plenty of those, you're not allowed to listen to him. But don't fight. Beg, cry, ask nicely, bring him to the rabbi, let someone convince him, offer other things to do for him to let go. I'm not saying to start fighting now. Tomorrow we're going to hear on the news something happened in the Jewish world. Many parents and their children started to have fights. That's not the point here. The point is not to fight, always to keep peace, but to stand on the religion, on the law. It comes before the parents. Why? That's why the Torah says, "Kabed et avicha ve'et imecha, leman yarichun yamecha." What does it say in the end of it? Ani Hashem. I am your God. What does it have to do with the sentence, respect your father and mother? I am your God. Because you respect them, but I'm above them. Which means if they tell you to do something against me, you don't have to listen and respect them. There's big arguments between the Chachamim if parents do not keep the law of the Torah, if there is any obligation to respect them to begin with. Not on particular manner. Which means if you have secular parents, according to very big rabbis, you don't have to respect them at all. And not to listen to them at all. That's not the law. The law is you respect them, you don't fight them, as long as it's not against the Torah. But the fact that very big giant Chachamim holds that what it means, Ani Hashem, means if they go against me even on certain things, you don't have an obligation to respect them. It teaches us how important it is for the parents not to tell their children to do things against God. Next thing, I'm suspecting my father to do not kosher things in his intimate private life, computer, things like that. Am I allowed to tell my mother about it or to tell anyone about it?
It comes to Hashem.
The answer is, if you know that the father goes to bad things in the internet or all kinds of things, you have to first talk to him and help him to do tshuva. And always make sure that he understands that if he won't do it, you will be forced to report him because it's for his own good. You want to save his eternity, his olam haba. If he continues his way, he's going to lose everything. Out of love to him, that's the right way to act. I want to learn in a good yeshiva in Israel, but I'm afraid because of the Arabs. It's dangerous. Yerushalayim, this, look, riots. It's not almost 1 month with quiet there. Always problems. Is this considered a risk? Am I doing mitzvah that comes through a sin? Or since I'm going to learn Torah, the situation, it's no big deal. We're not talking about real life risk for sure. It's possible. So the question is, am I allowed or not allowed? Depend on how severe is the risk. Sometimes, in certain period of time, the risk is very high. Sometimes it's normal risk. Every once in a while you hear they killed one Jew. Every once in a while. From hundreds of thousands, one got killed. Another one after 2 months. That's very small percentage. But if now there's an intifada, like riots, shooting on the streets, everywhere you go, then you're not allowed to go. It's a place of sakana. So it all comes down to how common and severe is the risk. Next question. I want to learn in a yeshiva, but my mother is afraid that I'll go to that yeshiva. Even though there is some risk, but not very high risk. So according to the Torah, I'm allowed to go to this yeshiva, but my mother is against it. She wants me to learn here in New York. Or my father. What should I do? Should I compromise and go to a yeshiva that I'm not interested in to make them sleep well at night because they're paranoid for no reason? Or I should still go to the yeshiva and I know they're going to be upset at home. Right. On the way, if you can wake him up. You know, you want to hear a good joke? One speaker came and one person was sleeping in the middle of the lecture. So he said to him, can you wake him up? So he said to him, no, you wake him up. You put him to sleep, you wake him up. That's what he should answer me next time. You put him to sleep, you wake him up. So, the answer, Talmud Torah comes before respect your parents. If the other yeshiva is better for you, the law is, אין אדם לומד אלא במקום שליבו חפץ. Person is going to learn Torah in a place that he desires and is attracted to. If this yeshiva is great for you, you feel the happiness of the learning there, but over there not so much. Your life comes first, especially Torah, that every second is eternity that you're earning. You don't want to compromise on your eternity because your mother is paranoid for no reason. I want to respect my parents, but they're very bad to me. So it makes it very difficult for me. Where do I take the energy to respect them when they're very bad to me? The answer, someone that says that his parents are very bad to him is an ungrateful human being. Why? Even if the parents is not ideal. Okay, your father is not Avraham Avinu, fine. They give you a place to sleep? Yes. They feed you? Yes. They give you what to wear? Yes. They take care of you when you need a doctor? They raised you? They change your diapers? They pay for your school, whatever the notebooks, whatever, even if they put you in public school, which is a big crime. But after all, they maintain you based to the best of their understanding. They already owe them so much. So what does it mean they're not good to me? They're not buying you a BMW? They're not serving you steaks every day? They're not driving you, or they're not giving you the drugs that you want? What does it mean they're not good to you? So the answer is, you have to be very careful not to cross the line and become ungrateful. Also, according to the law, even though there is contradiction, as I mentioned before, but the law, the accepted law today, that you have to respect your parents even if they're not great. You have an obligation to respect them. If the law was officially, you only have to respect your parents if they're good people or righteous people, that's a different story. But that's not the case. The case is you have to stay out of war, out of fights, and appreciate what they've done for you. What happens if my father say one thing and my mother the opposite? They cannot make up their mind. It's an argument for a week already. Who do I have an obligation to listen to? Depend if you're Sfaradi or Ashkenazi. Depend who is the boss. Some places the wife is the boss. One guy came from the Islamic countries, without mentioning names. His wife, she felt abused, husband is making her a servant. So she has a European friend. She comes, fancy lady. She said to her, the Middle Eastern Jew, she said to her European friend, how is it when I come to you, your husband does wash the dishes, set the table, he has apron, you train him very good. So she said to him, in the beginning it wasn't so easy. I told him things, he didn't listen. First time I didn't see him. Second time I didn't see him. Third time I didn't see him. He got the point. Since then, he's trained. Try the same. We'll meet next week. Next week they met. So the European said to the Middle Eastern, no, did it work for you? She said, first day I didn't see him. Second day I didn't see him. Third week, when the swelling started to come down from my eyes, I started to see him. He come from an Arab country. You expect him to give you... All right, so let's be serious now. The answer is, if the arguments between the father and mother is nothing to do with the Torah, which means not that one say to do a mitzvah and the other one say to do an averah. If there is an obligation, there is a contradiction between the father and mother, that one say to do mitzvah and one say to make a sin, it doesn't matter who say what. You always go with the one that say to do mitzvah. Now we are talking about regular things, nothing to do with mitzvah or averah. He say to you, I want you to sleep in this room. And the mother say, no, I want you to sleep in this room. Whatever, things that is nothing to do with mitzvah and averah. For instance, your mother say, I want you to take the garbage now and then go to the grocery. And the father say, no, I want you first to go to the grocery and then put the garbage down. It's just a stupid argument. Who do you have to listen to? What does the Torah say? The Torah was a little bit chauvinist in this. No feminism in the Torah. Actually, there is. The Torah says women have extra wisdom, you have to treat her like a queen, you have to buy her gifts, you have to give her ketubah with rights. The Torah was pretty feminist in many cases. But over here, the Torah says the father comes before the mother. However, the father should be clever to know that anything that has to do with the house, furniture, design, pictures, colors, gives it to the boss, to the general. Why? She spends more time in the house. What do you care if the curtains are red or they white? What do you care about this thing?
Rough in the house is because of the wife.
Yeah, if she's happy in the house, the atmosphere in the house would be better. My mother said to me, Imach Shimcha, your memory should be erased. What should I say back to her? In Israel, it's common that parents say to their children, Lech la Azazel. Azazel, it was the sacrifice that the Kohen has one la Hashem, one la Azazel in Yom Kippur, and they throw him from the cliff, and he breaks to hundreds of pieces. That's Azazel, which means by parents that say to their kids, Lech la Azazel, they're wishing them to fall from a cliff. But not one secular Israeli knows it. Not two. To one do not know that that's what they wish to their children. It just became an expression. The question is, what's the religious kid becoming more religious? What should he answer when the mother says such a thing? The answer, be silent, don't answer. You can say later on when she relaxes, you know, by the way, what you say, that's what it means, in case you didn't know. Mamash, time is running out. I put a certain yarmulke, but my father wants me to wear a different yarmulke. In Israel, like I told you, there's different ideologies. Black yarmulke means one thing. Needed yarmulke means something else. By the yarmulke, people know how to categorize you. You're pro-army, you're Zionist, you're anti-Zionist. They know a lot from the hats, from the outfits, like uniforms. Navy, Air Force. You want to know where you come from. My father wants me to walk with this kind of yarmulke, like needed, like Zionist. But I'm anti-Zionism. I'm not pro-communism and anti-Torah and things that they believe in. I don't want to have a share in it. But out of respect to my father, because he wear like that, and we go to the same community and shul, right now I'm putting it. But now soon I'm moving out and getting married. I want to replace the yarmulke to a black one. But I know it will hurt my father's ego and feelings. What should I do? This is common questions. It happens a lot. It could be the other way around. It can be he's wearing black now and he wants to go to Sruga, because that's what he believes in. So what's the answer? Technically, even though kippah, yarmulke, categorize you as a certain kind of person, from the Torah it doesn't really matter what kippah you have. It matters how you behave and if you believe in the right thing or the wrong things. Sometimes you find people with black yarmulke, very big righteous people. Sometimes the opposite, far away from being righteous. Sometimes you find people with kippah sruga, very wicked. Sometimes very righteous. There's no way to say that everyone that has this kind of kippah automatically is better than this one. It's not true. It's a game of numbers. Over here you have good people and less. And over here, and over here, and over here. This is the way the world is. So therefore the kippah, it really doesn't matter a lot. You can stay with that kind of kippah and behave like this kind of kippah according to your opinion. So in other words, if you walk with this kind of kippah but you don't believe at what this kippah represents, all you have to do is to change your behaving to what you believe in, regardless of changing the kippah or not. So if you can make your father happy and at the same time you do exactly what you believe in, based on the Torah, based on your understanding, based on what your rabbi or your education, it's perfectly fine. My mother became a missionary. The Christians hunted her. And because of that, my father cut her out. Now she's sick. Am I allowed to go visit her or no? She declared that she doesn't want to be Jewish anymore. She is believing in JC. I used to say penny. I'm afraid now, the liberal Jews get angry. Not one Christian person had a problem when I used to say J.C. Penney. Only Jews had problem. So the question is his father is in anger with the mother that left the family and became an idol worshipper. And now she's dying from cancer. And the kid, after years that they are not in touch, wants to go quietly and visit her, but he feels that he betrayed his father and perhaps betrayed Hashem. No, what should he do? The answer is, he's allowed to visit her. And like he said, maybe you can make her do tshuva before she dies as an idol worshiper and lose her olam haba in eternity. After all, people before they die, they begin to think differently than until now. Sometimes it's the ego. Sometimes it's the status. Sometimes it's the attention they get from all these idol worshippers. But now when they're about to move on to the next world, they don't have time to think about ego and things like that. Maybe it's time to save them. A mother that cheated on the husband, and because of that he got divorced from her. The children are asking if they're allowed to be in touch with such a sinner or no. We have no idea how many times things like this happen, and these questions coming on a daily basis, unfortunately. What should he do? The answer is, according to Shulchan Aruch, based on the words of the Rama, the chief Ashkenazi rabbi of the Ashkenazim, Shulchan Aruch Yoreh De'ah Resh Mem, Halacha Yud Chet, it said that you still have to respect a wicked parent. Even though he's a very big wicked person, still have to give them respect. My mother asked me to help her on Friday night because there is guest on the way. She's not ready for Shabbat, but I have to go to davening. I have to pray. I'm going to be late for the davening. What am I going to do now? She's stuck now. She doesn't have enough help. The answer, you must stay and help your mother. It's mitzvah from the Torah, and to go to the shul, it's rabbinical law. Torah and rabbinical law, Torah comes before. Kibud avaim, kibud horim. And worse comes to worse, either you catch a later minyan, if there is, and if not, you pray alone. Still go to shul and pray alone. So like this, you kill 2 birds with 1 stone. You did the mitzvah from the Torah, and you did the mitzvah of the tefillah. Okay, not as good, but it's like honest. Anus rachmana patre. If you are forced not to do a mitzvah the way you wanted it, you have a legitimate reason. It counts like you did the mitzvah 100% like you wanted. Fantastic. Kol ha'osek b'mitzvah, patur min ha'mitzvah. The rules. If you're busy with mitzvah and there's another mitzvah coming in, you are dismissed. You're already busy with mitzvah. Unless, if there's nobody to do that mitzvah, you have to go bury someone, funeral, there's no relatives. And you're learning Torah now. Well, it's much bigger mitzvah to learn Torah than to go bury someone. It's nothing to compare. It's like diamonds and silver. But since there's no one to bury him, now it becomes more urgent. So you close the Torah, you do the mitzvah, and right away you return back to the Torah, and it counts like you sat and learned Torah non-stop. You won't lose. However, if there are other people to bury him, of course it's mitzvah to help them. It's a much bigger mitzvah to stay in yeshiva and learn. One guy in Yeshivat Mir, when Rav Finkel alav shalom, the father who passed away I think a year ago, 2 years ago, he was the Rosh Yeshiva of Mir, one American boy that learns in Mir. He comes to his Rosh Yeshiva, Rabbi Finkel, and he told him, Rabbi, my grandfather is dying. Mamash, they gave him a day or 2 to live. I want to say goodbye to him before he dies. In 2 weeks from now, the Seder is finishing. Anyway, I'm going to Israel in 2 weeks. The Passover vacation is coming. So I want to go now. At least I get to see my father. Don't worry, Rabbi, I'm going to learn, of course, in Brooklyn, but at least I say goodbye to my grandfather. So the rabbi told him, it's very important to say goodbye to the grandfather, but it's 1,000,000 times more important to learn Torah. On the 2 weeks you won't learn like you are in a Seder, you're going to lose a lot more than you gain. Don't go. We will pray all for your grandfather to feel better, and Bezrat Hashem, if you have to see him, you'll see him in 2 weeks. And if not, you won't see him. You go to his grave, you make sure to do things for his neshama. But the kids are kids, teenagers. He didn't listen to his rabbi. He got on a plane, and he took the plane to JFK. And as soon as he landed in JFK, he turned his cell phone on, and was listening to the messages, and this is what his mother left. Dear Ari, Grandpa just passed away. That was a few hours ago. I'm very lucky now that you're in Israel because we made his body fly to Israel. Wow. The body is on the way to Israel, and you're the only one that we can trust to wait in Ben Gurion Airport and organize the funeral and meet the guy from Chevrat Kadisha and all this and that. So as soon as he landed, he didn't even call his parents to tell them I'm in New York. He went and paid 3 times more for the tickets for money that he saved, maybe $3,000-$4,000, to get a ticket from now to now. You know how they rip you off. And he went right back to arrive back to Israel, and he didn't even make it to the funeral. So by the time he arrived to Israel, he wasn't there. So he lost from everything. And 2 weeks later, he had to go back. That's called Da'at Torah. You have a rabbi, he tells you what to do. Tamim tiem Hashem Elokecha. This is what Hashem wants. Last thing for today, a convert. Does he have an obligation to respect his biological parents after he became a Jew? Technically now they're not his parents anymore.
I think yes.
Does he have an obligation that Vinny and Christine inviting him to visit, and he comes into their homes and all they see is Christmas trees and crosses everywhere, and the mother holding the baby crying, and he comes into the house and he wants to vomit from these idol worshippers over there?
No.
Does he have an obligation to respect them or no?
No, in fact, they're not even related anymore.
Well, that part we understand. Otherwise, we wouldn't ask this question.
Yes, yes.
Otherwise, he's
The answer, Ben Noach, a Gentile, has an obligation to respect his parents. How come? It's not one of the 7 laws of the Gentiles. The 7 laws of the Gentiles, it's like their 10 commandments. Those are the foundation. Those are the main commandments of the Goyim, of the Gentiles. However, there's about 36 mitzvot altogether that the Gentiles are obligated to keep. There's some good books about the missions of Gentiles in the world and what Ben Noach has to keep, Noachites. However, you should know one thing. Every commandment, every good deed that is required by common sense, human common sense, even though it doesn't say clearly in the 7 commandments of the Gentiles, they automatically are obligated to keep, which means they're not allowed to be violent, to hit people. It's not one of the 7. They're not allowed to make the streets dirty. It's not one of the 7. They have to respect their biological parents as Goyim. Tony respect Vini. It's not one of the 7, but it's mandatory. Even the chimpanzee respect his father. Gentiles are less than the chimpanzee in the safari? Of course not. So there are things that is required by common sense. And this is one of them, that a Gentile is required to respect his parents. However, he's not a Gentile anymore, he's a Jew. But he never got rid of his obligation as he was a goy to respect his biological parents in a way that Gentiles are committed to. Why do I say that? Because there's a huge difference between how a Jew has to respect his parents and how a Gentile has to respect his parents. Gentile respect his parents means he appreciates them, he helps them when they need, he takes care of them when they sick, he helps them financially if he can. The regular respecting. But if he sits in his father's chair, if Tony sits in the chair of his father Vini, it's not a sin. If Vini walk into the house and Tony did not stand, it's not a sin. For a Jew, it's a problem. If his father talks, he can say, "Excuse me, Dad, I'm busy now." It's not, doesn't mean that he doesn't respect him. But if a Jew say to his father, it's a violation from the Torah. So therefore, they still have the obligation to respect them, human being to human being. And also they're allowed to say Kaddish when they die, even though they goyim. Even if they're idol worshippers, like Christians, they're all idol worshippers. Still allowed to say Kaddish for them. What Hashem will do with this Kaddish, that's his business. But out of respect to his father or his mother, he's allowed to say. Esav was a goy. He respected his father very much. There was no Judaism yet. Hashem gave them a huge reward for respecting his father. We see that a Gentile that respects his father, even though there was no Torah yet, still get a huge reward. Until today we suffer from the reward that the children of Esav got. Europe, United States, Germany, the Nazis, all of them came from Esav. All their wealth, all the power, everything that they had, control in the world, came thanks to the merit of Esav respecting Yitzchak. You should know that. Therefore, you see that a goy that respects his parents, he has a reward. That means it's mitzvah. Same thing the Gemara brings, Dama ben Atina, goy that was a jeweler. Jeweler, you have Jacob the jeweler, you have Dama the jeweler. The only difference, Dama didn't drive a Ferrari. So the Gizbarim, the Gabaim of Bet HaMikdash, one stone fell from the Choshen of the Kohen, the tribe of Binyamin. And they were looking for this stone, it's called Yashfeh, like some kind of a ruby, worth millions in our day. They finally arrived to this jeweler, and this jeweler, they made a price, and they said to him, they agree on a price, and he said, "I cannot sell you this stone." He has it, but he cannot sell it. So right away they got panic. "We'll give you more." No, we'll give you more. No. The next day, they said, "We're going to have to go and double the price. We must have the stone." They went back to him, and he said to him, "Here is the stone, and the first price I told you, that's the price." Even though now they agreed to pay, 100 times more. So they said to him, "So in that case, why did you bargain with us if you wanted to give it to us for so cheap?" So he said, "That's the price, and I'm not changing prices from customers to customer. And the only reason I didn't want to sell it yesterday because my father was sleeping with his head or his legs on the box. I didn't want to wake him up." The Gemara say that night he had a red cow was born in his barn. Red cow worth $1 billion today. Somebody in Texas, would have some John in Texas will have a red cow. He's going to be a multi-billionaire. He comes to the Jews, say, how much are you going to pay me for this red cow? They check it, everything is perfect, red, 100%, no black hair, no cross eyes, nobody puts weight on it, nice, perfect, beautiful. Whoo! You have to sell half of Manhattan to give this John for his red cow. So this Dama Ben Atina became a billionaire in those days thanks to mitzvah of kibud orim, because he respected his father. There's enough evidence in the Talmud and in the Torah that a Gentile that respects his parents, he has a mitzvah. Here the question was not if a Gentile has to respect his parents. That's obvious. The question was now they're not his parents anymore. You understand? That means if his mother converted to Judaism, he could have had intimate relationship with her if he wanted, even though she's the mother who gave birth to him, and even though she's 20 years older than him. He had no obligation, no problem. But the Torah say when you convert, you have nothing to do with your siblings, the previous ones. However, the Chachamim, the sages made a decree that no one would marry his sister from the days that he was a goy. If a brother and sister converted and they want to get married, even though they're two strangers to each other now, spiritually, they're all different souls now. She got a soul and he got a different soul. It's like brand new babies. This is how Hashem looks at them. It's brand new babies who were born today. He can be 30 years old, is considered 1 day old in the eyes of Hashem. And they obviously can get married, but because the Goyim, they would see it that Vinny and Christine, two brothers, they got married after they became Jews. They'll go crazy. The Goyim say, what kind of chosen people marry brothers and sisters? Because they don't understand that it doesn't go by biological connection. It goes by souls. That's why Chazal, the Chachamim, made it forbidden. That's what I tell many Jews who marry Goyot. I say to him, you marry this Goya, you like her, you love her, whatever the case is. And then you have a daughter. And one day, 20 years later, your daughter became 20. She went to a lecture, or she went on YouTube, and she found a lecture about intermarriage, and she just realized she's 100% a Goya, even though her father is a Jew. Her mother is Goya, she's a Goya. And she decided to convert. And she made an Orthodox conversion. Technically, you, the father, you can marry her now. Can divorce Christine and marry your daughter Jennifer, that a minute ago was a Goya. They go crazy. What? I'll marry my daughter? Are you crazy? What kind of rabbi you are? I almost got killed in the middle of a lecture for saying it. In a house of a guy that married to a Sicilian Italian woman. He grabbed a fork and jumped on me to stab me in my heart. But there was one DJ sitting over there, saved my life. Shimon Segev, his name. He's alive, not alive. I've never seen him for 15 years already. He grabbed him and saved my life. The pain that it gave him to realize that his children are not his children, that the Torah gave him permission to marry him because they're not considered his children, was a very big shock for him. And then after that, Baruch Hashem, he left his son. His son was a very famous DJ in New York, big Mahti Arabim. I put him in yeshiva in Monsey, and he doesn't give him a rest. He wants him back in a party business in Manhattan. And I realized the only way to make this father leave his son alone is to make a lecture in his house. And the Goyim over there, these children, he has Nuk from a second marriage. His children are not Jewish. I told him, this daughter of yours, in a picture here, if she convert, you'll be able to marry her. So he said, what? I'm going to be able to marry my own daughter? I said, but don't worry, the Chachamim say it's not allowed. But Hashem say it's allowed, because she's not your daughter. How can she be not my daughter? I gave birth to her, I raised her. So it doesn't matter. You can raise an adopted kid, but it's still not your son. You can be a Kohen. You took a Vietnamese kid or African kid from Africa. You raise him, you put yarmulke and peot. It's not your son. You're adopting him, you're raising him, you're doing a lot of nice things to him, but he's not your son. You're a Kohen, he's not a Kohen. One Kohen, he met a girl, and they found out that he's not allowed to marry her. Why? Because she was a divorced woman. But they madly in love. They go crazy. They go to rabbis. They ended up going to one of Gdolei Ador, one of the Ashkenazim, Rav Elyashiv, Rav Kanievsky, one of the Gdolim. And he said to him, Rabbi, give me permission to marry her. We became religious, why I cannot marry her? So the rabbi said, oh, I'm not God, and I cannot let a Kohen marry a divorced woman, but I'm going to pray that Hashem will make it easy for you. That's the maximum I can do. After a few days, he got a call from his father in New York. They're in Israel now. He got a call from his father in New York, son, I'm dying in a hospital, I have 48 hours to live, come quickly. I'm in this hospital. He came to the father, and the father with machines, old man, and the father said to him, son, all my life I wanted to tell you this secret, but I just couldn't. Now I have no choice. I must tell you that I know in 2 hours I'll be dead. You're not really my son. I adopted you when you were a baby. Your parents left you in the orphanage home, and I adopted you, and you're not my son. Now the father is a Kohen. He expected the son to choke him. You ruined my life. He went, yes! He runs to the hospital. His father just told him he's not his son. He runs, he jumps. What happened? I can marry her. That's it. So you should know, person that marry a non-Jewish woman, the children are all goyim and have nothing to do with him when he dies. He goes to one place in Olam Haba and they go to a different world. Even if he pay millions for raising them for their education. When the Torah says someone who comes from a non-Jewish woman is not your son, it wasn't a joke. It's the law. It's not your son. You can raise him. He can be the president of the United States. Doesn't matter. It's not your son. It's not your daughter. It's critical. That's why so many people think they're Jewish in this world and they're not. And so many people think they are Goyim and they are Jewish. One of them, I can sign my name on it. Meir Giuliani, for sure a Jew. No, it's my opinion, relax. That's my feeling. Why? He loves Israel more than any Jew I know. When the Arab gave him a check, $10 million, but he said one word against Israel, $10 million after September 11. He ripped it. He did not let Arafat come to the United Nations. That's how much he loved Israel and supported Israel. Almost like Obama. Baruch Adonai le'olam, amen v'amen.